Hi guys. I was just thinking I'm going to just for a rugby video. I was thinking, what could I actually make? Don't have my board out for this one. Um, the whiteboard's not out, but might do that when I go home. Do a part two and just go through it with you. But for this one, I'll just kind of name players that I think deserve to be in the world 15, and then what I like to always do was a 23 rather, because I think it's fairer if you do give the 23 and go, look, these lads, maybe not the starting team, but certainly impressed enough to make the seconds team. Or the seconds team could bench. What am I talking about? But just because you don't make the 15 doesn't mean that you're a bad player. And I think if you're on the bench, nowadays especially, it's just as important. So I'll also give honourable mentions to players who I think, have been great throughout the years and would have been in my team before, but the only reason they're not is down to maybe recent injuries and recent performances, whatever the case may be, because there are some players that definitely deserve to be there. They're just not there purely because, like, injuries happen, shit happens, and if those players can get fit again and get back to their original form, they'd be in the World 23, in my opinion. So we'll start at number one. And I'll give a few honourable mentions before I do. So I think Pierre Schoolman has really come on. He's doing a good bit. Definitely being very consistent, for sure. Not the best loose head in the world, but he's definitely come into his own and he's been very consistent. Been in that team for a while now, Scotland and Edinburgh. He's doing a lot for them, so doing a good job. Jean-Baptiste Gros, he did very well in the autumn. Very impressed with him. I thought that front row of him, Piotr Movaka and Tavita Tafu was very good. George-Henri Coulombe destroyed. Terrible in the scrums. I wasn't expecting that from him at all. I expected a lot more. Thought he was going to be a solid replacement when Tafu got injured early. But no, he wasn't. Jean-Baptiste Gros, very good. I think a big one now, Gerhard Steenekamp. He's been very good, 6'4", I think, for a loose head, so like Andrew Sheridan vibes. He's very lean, very muscular for a loose head. I like Sheridan, Thomas Dutoy, but I mean, he plays both sides. But I think the reason for a loose head is because he destroyed Archie Griffin for Wales. He just upended him like it was domination. So good, and to go from tight head 1 week to playing loose head effortlessly is insanely good. I think no one would really argue with me that it's kind of Oxen Che is up there for sure, being very solid. But the player I'm going with, and I'm going to argue with anyone who disagrees with me on this, Andrew Porter. He's insanely good. Plays over 70 minutes week in, week out. We use him too much, we really do. He needs more of a break because he's being used way too much. If he gets injured, we are fucked. We need him. We need him at his fittest all the time. So it was nice to see Leinster using Jack Boyle and not Andrew Porter again. Because he's a beast, but he can't always do it. Oxen Che is good, but Andrew Porter plays more minutes. And I don't think you'd see Oxen Che chasing back like Andrew Porter did in that Leinster v Claremont game. That was insane. And then to last even longer, like about 12 minutes after. Need someone to come on for him, give him a breather, because he is very good, but we don't want anyone getting injured. I've already got Furlong and Shane who are injured, so we need them coming back for sure. But Andrew Porter gets the number one spot. He's the number one for a reason. Now I think in the future we might consider putting him back to tight head, for his strength. just when Furlong retires. Um, yeah, but at hooker, then obviously Dan Sheehan was for sure the best hooker in the world, or up there definitely. But through injury, it's cost him in that South African tour. So that's not his fault, he's an excellent player, and we really hope that he comes back for the Six Nations in Ireland for sure, and I think he will, which is great to hear. But based on recent form is what I'm going off, and he's been injured, so that's why he doesn't make this. But certainly being number one and up there at least. But then you have Bongi and Benambi, who was more Mr. Consistency. And I'll talk about the two that the South African hookers, Malcolm Marx has been brilliant for ages. I think he's more flair, and if he's playing at his best, that's better than Bongi and Benambi. But the issue is Bongi and Benambi has been more consistent for sure, and that's why he kind of starts for South Africa, because he's just being there and being consistent. Johan Robelaar looks good as well, another South African hooker. They've so much depth. I think Joseph Dweba's been very disappointing. You expect a lot from him. You see him and he's a big strong looking lad, but his throwing just isn't good enough, and his overall game I just don't think is good enough. Looks the part but doesn't really seem to play the part, My brother will use a phrase, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. But I don't know. Then you've got Ronan Kelleher, another great Irish hooker, and really good to have him and Sheehan. But Kelleher's throwing has been very suspect lately, both for Ireland and for Leinster. We've got big issues there, and Gus McCarthy's been the same. Said he's a breakthrough player, and he is. Been very good, very impressive looking. But yeah, the throwing has not been good enough, and in a position like hooker, you need to be throwing. So it's kind of an essential part of the job, It's in the job description. Must be good at throwing. So we're going to have to fix that for sure, because there's no way we win the Six Nations without a proper line-out, because we rely on it so much. We really do. We got 2 tries off line-outs against Australia, so we do rely on it heavily. We need it. The Irish team is nothing without our line-out. We have to have that functioning at its best. It's been such a weapon for us over the years. Then Ewan Ashman has come on. He's been really good. Very solid physical presence. Made a big tackle on Eben Etzebeth and upended him. Very impressive. Great tackle. I was impressed. Then you have Matt Faisler has actually been quite good for Australia, and I didn't really know what to expect from him. We got him and Brendan Payenga Mosa, who was also a good player. But I think Matt Faisler has kind of impressed me a bit more. Definitely one to watch out for sure. And then I was just thinking Cody Taylor and Asafa Aumua for New Zealand. Both good players. Cody Taylor, Mr. Consistency, been in that team for a while now and led it well. Done very well. But for me, France are leading the way. Julian Marchand, but the man who has to take it is Piotr Movaka. Piotr Movaka is a machine. His speed, his fitness, he lasts you for 70 minutes. A lot heavier than he looks as well. So muscular frame, great ball carrier, very physical, great hands, great over the ball, great at jackling. He is the ultimate hooker. He's such a good player. I don't think anyone is as good as him. He runs like a centre, but has that physicality of a back rower that you just cannot get anywhere else. He's such a good player. Throwing's good as well, so I think France are blessed in that regard, to have 2 players like that. For me, Piotr Movaka, number 1 hooker in the world by a mile at the minute. He's insanely good. Brilliant player. And somebody else who I will give a huge shout out to, and I know Wales are not going to get much praise, but I've been singing this lad's praises, is Dewi Lake. Such a good player, and in such a poor Welsh team, he still plays well. He is a great player. So an honourable mention for Dowie as well. Were he in a better team, I'm sure he would be shining and we would say player of the year and whatever. Unfortunately, you don't get a chance to when your team aren't on the front foot, but he's Mr. Consistency. He's always up there for Wales. He's great over the ball, he's great at jackling, good ball carrier, physical presence. So yeah, no, good player. And then Jamie George will always be the good captain, the leader. But Piotr Movaka, best hooker in the world, leads the way by a country mile. And that country is France. Then tight head prop. Ooh, interesting, isn't it? So obviously Tadhg Furlong has been there or thereabouts for years. And would no doubt be in there were he not after getting so many injuries, But yeah, now such a good player. Sorry, one sec. She did very well. It's a tight spot in here. Now it's difficult, but when someone bumps into your car with their door and just whacks it and doesn't even fucking say sorry, you're like, oh, dickhead. And you look crazy for giving out to them, but you're like, no, that's an arsehole thing to do. But no, fair play. There's a woman here right beside us in a very tight spot. She managed not to do it, so everyone out there, take note. You can avoid it if you try. But back to the video. So yeah, Tadhg Furlong, obviously great player, really good, and big loss when he's not in the team, for sure. We want to create more depth in the front row. That's a given. But I think we have the players, but we need to be playing them. Need game time. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll be short of a lot of good players and talent. Tavita Tattafu, as he said, breakthrough player for France. Excellent, really powerful, really strong. Massive ball carrier. Big, powerful fella. Him and Emmanuel Miafu in the tight head side with Miafu behind him. That's some weight coming through, isn't it? And then you got Roman Taufi Fanua still playing as well. I think came back from retirement. So geez, that is some bulk coming through on the tight head side. Brilliant player. Xander Fagerson, Mr. Consistency, got to get a mention because he's always there. Shows up week in, week out for Scotland. Not the most flashy, exciting player, but does what you need in a tight head prop. And as I say, fitness is obviously very good. But it's like with Andrew Porter. Scotland play him a bit too often. You don't want him getting injured because he is your number one tight head. But done very well. Just on the loose head side as well, Angus Bell in the loose, great, but I think Fagerson made mincemeat of him in the scrum. But Angus Bell is a very exciting player for sure. Very exciting to watch. I'm a big fan of his, but that scrum got destroyed. So you kind of have to just take the good with the bad, I guess. Which is Xander Fagerson deserves a shout out, definitely. Weenie Antonio still playing, great to see. Especially if George Henri Coulomb scrummages like he did, then they're gonna need Weenie and Tavita Tattafu, which is not a bad position to be in either. I think Weenie Antonio might even consider coming off the bench, because he could still offer so much in half an hour, 20 minutes if Tattafu stays fit and stays playing. You've got Dorian Aldegheri if needs be, so you're alright there. If you're France, they have a big fucking pack, scary prospect. Mentioned Thomas Dutoy can do either, and he's very good. He's outstanding. Such a good player, and to slot in from one role to another effortlessly is impressive. I see him as more of a tight head, because he's a big lad, tall fella too, and it's, from what I've seen, it's easier for taller lads to play tight head than loose head. Typically your loose head is kind of look a bit more gym strength, like if you put Cian Healy and Andrew Porter, although Andrew Porter can do both, I would put him back at tight head. But Tadhg Furlong and Cian Healy, Tadhg Furlong has the out and out farmer strength, and Cian Healy's the gym bunny, you know. The rippling muscles, but Tyg Furlong has that beefy farmer strength, because you're taking the pressure of two people as a tight head, so you need that big wide back and that strength, you know. Whereas the loose head to be a bit leaner maybe, and the bulkier prop definitely is normally the tight head, put it that way. You want a big heavy tight head like Davide Tatafu or Weenie Antonio. But yeah, definitely better to have a bigger one. Light's gone on me, but doesn't matter. Let's see if we get it. Nah. Yeah, definitely having the bigger fella on the tight head side. I would prefer that personally, in my team. Just because you are taking the brunt and they're more of a lock type player. Not a lock as in second row, but you know, you have to drive very straight. You're not really angling in awkwardly like a loose head has to do. Loose head is trying to get under a tight head and pop him up. So to combat that, you want a heavy tight head to weigh him down. Like, my brother played tight head a little bit, and he's very hard to get under and to shift because he's a big lad, big broad shoulders. So yeah, who else would I pick at the tight head side? Just thinking of it now.